Hello and welcome to the show. We are back at the Endurodrome with 3 more vehicles being driven till destruction, starting with a Miramar. This is the Z coupe version of the car, and I've got the race vehicle, the very noisy race vehicle. One that, Miramar leads the table here. It's the longest surviving car and has been since the very first episode. Which, is a good base, let's face it, if you're going to be using a vehicle. The downside, of course, for this, well, it's a full-on race car. And full-on race car with slick tyres, low, stiff suspension, probably not the best suspension configuration for surviving around here, but I guess we're going to kind of see how it manages. If any race car is going to survive for a long amount of time around here, chances are it may well be a Miramar race vehicle. I'm trying to look at the rear suspension actually, because I think, do we still have, very difficult to tell, I think it might still have leaf springs at the back. And leaf springs are basically what you want in this series. Oh dear, that's going to be a spin. Oh no, we got away there. Yeah, leaf springs, very, very good. In that it's very difficult to kill them. If they do get killed, you're in massive amounts of trouble. But if they don't get killed, well, they take a lot of punishment before they tend to break. Although on a race car, I don't really know. Don't know how that's all going to pan out. We managed to bend the wing immediately, which is less than good. The mud is not going to be fun in this car. Oh, come on, skate through, skate through. Hey, we have made it through. Just through all of that. We'll get some air time. We will clonk the front of the car around. Oh, there goes the wing. Ooh, I think the steering's gone a little bit skew-whiff. Are we still... No, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's just the way it was bouncing across the dirt. With these tyres, there's very little grip out here. As per usual, the general rule for this series... I say the general rule. The main rule for this series, I have to drive the cars as fast as I possibly can. They have to be driven as hard as they can be. However, a vehicle like this, when there is so little grip, it's actually very difficult to get up much speed. It can kind of work in the car's favour. Oh, we have got leaf springs at the rear. That might be good news for the back of the car. It might keep the rear suspension alive for a little bit longer. The front suspension, would be a concern. Let's face it, the front's more likely to take a battering, but who knows? Who knows what we will see around here. Yeah, because the race car struggling for power, struggling to use its power. It's got plenty of it, but I can't really do much with it. Does mean that it may survive a little bit better than some. We'll have to kind of see. The big jump here is always a telling one. Oh wow, that's got twisted very badly. Although, it's come out the other side. It could have gone on considerably worse. Ooh, my rear left doesn't look fun. That rear left wheel does not look particularly happy whatsoever, although we are going to complete, provided nothing terrible goes on down here, we are going to complete the first lap with only minor damage, with only kind of cosmetic stuff so far. We haven't had the radiators still in one piece, all of the suspension is still in one piece, the car pings its way across, I say it's all in one piece. I think the rear lefts might be starting to go. The racing leaf springs, I'm assuming that's a thing, might not quite hold up to as much punishment as the normal vehicle, plus I don't know what other changes have gone into making the Z coupe, of course. Weave our way through the speed bump. Of the race cars, this is probably one of the best ones dealing with the speed bumps, sorry. It's crossing those without too much grief. There's no big clonks, no big crashes. I do fear this might be a car that has a one-hit KO. It tends to be the off-roaders, but sort of vehicles like this as well, you can see it, where it's one big hit. Steering goes, or wheel axle goes, or drive shaft goes, and so on. And race cars, of course, are susceptible to high levels of damage here. Oh, we're going to be on the... it's not really in the mud pit, is it? Oh! It was elegant. I will give the car that much. It was elegant. Can we get out of here, or are we still slightly stuck in the mud? It's not very good. Okay, so the reverse doesn't really work. Sorry, clutch. Apparently our reverse gear is a little bit useless. It does look like the car is slightly lower on the left-hand side than it is on the right-hand side. Ooh, that's not a fun sound. Okay, I don't think the front suspension's enjoying life very much. One of the issues, of course, we see, front suspension starts collapsing, starts getting battered. Not only is there less mean, there's less to take punishment at the front. You start landing on the engine, radiator and all that sort of thing. But you can get to the point where the car's running so low that the front of the chassis is getting caught on everything. We have seen that before. It's rare, but we have seen that before. And of course, as the suspension going, control goes with it, steering might start going with it, and well, you kind of want control. You really want to be able to position the car where you want it to go around this course, rather than wherever the random destruction circuit takes it. So we would like to have as much control as we can. I'm not very well positioned for this. I think we are just fast enough. It's only just, though. We are across. Oh, try and get control of it. Once we get on the tarmac, of course, we suddenly get a huge amount of grip from the slick tyres. There we go. Across the speed bumps. That's actually a good launch. That was a good launch from the Z Coupe as we head up to complete our lap. Oh, our lap number 2. Still looking pretty healthy here. It is still looking pretty healthy indeed. Bounce through the speed bumps. Oh, God. Nearly got launched. Steering, it's gone maybe a teensy bit. I think the car's pulling a little bit to the left. It's liking to launch itself off these jumps, which is a pain. I'd rather it didn't. I mean, you can actually see on that front left wheel is not quite at the right angle. However, considering the number of cars that have gone out before making it on towards the third lap, you know, it's doing pretty well. Weave our way down here. There we go. It's definitely getting worse. It's definitely getting worse. I think the front suspension might have gone. So there's really little in the way of damage absorption, even. Damage absorption? That's the word. I know the word I was going for. I'm not sure I said it very well. But you know what I mean. Basically, as the suspension gives up, the shock of any of the hits on speed bumps, the shock of any of the hits on any of the bumps, kind of goes straight into chassis, straight into important bits of the car. I can't even contemplate getting to full power through most of this lap here. Into the mud pit we go. Oh, I've got no steering going into the mud pit, which isn't great. Ooh, that's a nasty one. That is a nasty one for the car. That was a heavy hit on the front. Now, am I going to be able to drive? I guess we might be able to get it out of the sand, possibly. We've got to try and drive the car out if we can. How is that front corner from that hit? It's a little smashed up. I'm amazed the radiator's okay with that. I'm very surprised the radiator was as okay with that as it was, because that was that was just a nose first impact into the ground. Temperature-wise, we are at, I guess, sort of a normal operating temperature. As the car bounced around again, the Miramar is just very tough. The Miramar just doesn't want to... I shouldn't say that, of course. We know what the commentator is like. The Miramar does not want to give up, mind, around here. Oh, we're going to go for another spin. No, catch it. Hey! Somehow not pointing the wrong way there. I'm not sure how I got away with it, but there we go. Oh, this is horrible down here. It really is. That's going to be a big hit. I think we got away with it. I wasn't turning the wheel at the time, so it landed sort of square on the side. If you've got the wheel, for example, I've got the wheel pointing slightly left and we hit on that corner, the wheel sort of sticking out, prone to getting crashed into. Sometimes you don't have any chance to react. At that time, we thankfully did have plenty, could just land on the side panels of the car. Doesn't matter too much. As long as the radiator doesn't get pinged, doesn't really matter. Oh, again, that's landing heavily on the front of the car. Rear axle looked like it bounced a little bit, but it's all in position again now, so that's alright. The speed bump is still launching us clear of everything. Oh, let's not go visit that building. I don't think the car's ever found that building, actually. We've hit various things around here with out-of-control cars, but that building, I think, remains uncrashed into. And hopefully it shall continue to remain uncrashed into. I love how we've still got a working brake light as well in this car. It's still going. And that's another lap. Still, the Miramar Z Coupe lives on. I'm going to go a little bit clonky over that one, but that's fine. It's not even like there's not that big crashing sound that goes on with a lot of cars when they hit these landings. It's just not something that's happening with the Z Coupe, which is good for this car. Oh, there we go. We're going to go round. Oh, there's a gear in there somewhere. It does judder a lot when I go to set off. Yeah, I'm not sure the rear suspension isn't 100% happy, but it's still, you know, there well enough to let us put power down. I don't think the wheels are even that buckled. I mean, There's a long distance, there's a long distance to go for the Z Coupe to even get close to the normal Miramar. It's not really where I wanted to go. It doesn't really seem bothered by speed bumps, and I'm really surprised considering the level of damage that has gone on to the front suspension. I mean, it's not had a pristine run through here by any means. We're going to just throw the car at the mud pit. We are through. It's landed on its nose a few times. It's rolled a couple of times. You know, it's not exactly had the cleanest run of a vehicle through here, but it's just not really been all that phased, which for a race car is quite surprising. I mean, it's a very different engine in this to the normal Miramar. Again, doesn't sound like it's hitting the ground with all that much. There's not the sickening crunches. There's not the huge amount of pain going on in these landings, as you might expect, or as we have seen from numerous other cars. Here we go, on the back straight. It might not sound like it's crashing around too much, but this is where we could bend bits in the steering if we aren't careful. Oh, we're going to head towards that. I've not got quite got the grip to go the other side of the concrete barrier, so I will take avoiding action rather than going face first into that one. We have hit that a few times, with cars hitting a bump and being launched and having no control to try and avoid it, or broken steering and so on. But it will not be a place the Miramar visits. Again, we're across the big jump. We landed quite heavily on the front left wheel. No problem. Car doesn't care. Car does not care one bit. Oh, it might care about that one there one bit more though. Oh, the front's actually really... That speed bump has done some bad... I think it was a speed bump. Speed bump has done some bad things now. Now the radiator's gone. My kind of slightly bigger concern almost is the entire front suspension is all gone. The entire front suspension has all gone. I mean, this is now... Are we even going to clear the speed bumps themselves? We are just going to be able to get across them. We will bounce our way across there. Steering's pretty much gone in the car. Steering has pretty much given up in all of this. Yeah, okay, so that is both. I guess both sort of shock towers at the front have just seized. It is technically not the first time we've seen that either from a car. Oh, steering. What's going on here? We have apparently lost all steering, or despite the fact. Now, can I use... I'm not allowed to put the car in reverse if we've got steering failure. Oh, yeah, that front left. Front left is at a horrendous angle. Now, I am allowed to roll the car backward with a little bit of gravity. That is allowed, but I think that wheel is going to put us out for... It's going to put us out for steering. I mean, I've spun it around, but I think it's actually now stuck on there. Yeah, I don't think we can go. I think I slightly clipped one of the concrete barriers after the front suspension collapsed because all my steering was weird, and that, I think, did a little bit of the damage to the left-hand side, although I don't know how much went on beforehand. Yeah, we're done. That steering is gone. I'm not going to be able to make that corner. I mean, I can technically roll down. I can roll down the hill over there, but you kind of cut a corner out. And if the car can't make the corner, then that is the vehicle counted out, and that is not making the corner. That is a... broken steering. It's kind of everything happened at once. It's just the whole front end gave way on a speed bump. It was likely to be the way. It was likely to be the way with a race car. Still, that's a race-prepped vehicle. That's a race-prepped vehicle designed not for dealing with speed bumps and jumps. That's a hell of a long distance. That is a hell of a long distance that the Miramar Z Coupe race car has managed. Our next contender is quite the massive vehicle. This is the D-Series Quad Cab. It's a kind of essentially a limo pickup. It's mad. It's very mad. And it is going to take on our destruction circuit. I mean, theoretically the D-Series, quite strong. Theoretically a D-Series should be quite good around here. After all, it is a bit more of a heavy-duty vehicle designed to deal with nastiness in the terrain, to an extent at least. I mean, this is, of course, excessively nasty and all, but these are much better designed than the sports cars. However, this one is very, very long, very likely to be uncontrollable. I fear, actually, the massive size could give us real grief if we do start having steering issues trying to thread this vehicle through some of these areas. Of course, Bending the chassis might be something we see. I think unlikely with the nature of this circuit. Doesn't tend to get that sort of damage going onto the car, onto the truck, or onto the limo pickup thing. But yeah, I don't really know. It'd be fun to get the car snapped in half, but that's probably not something we're going to be seeing around here. This is very much not the circuit for that. It tends to punish the suspension more. Suspension on the D series, as I said, is pretty strong though. So we might not see too much. I say that we've lost one of the wheels at the back. We've got Julie's there, so that's not too much of a concern. Oh, we're gonna buck around. And across there, we're fine. No problems whatsoever. I mean, I guess we could maybe end up... We haven't had a vehicle hit into that yet up there. Nothing's been sort of tall enough and jumped far enough to hit into that. But... Oh, it's quite a heavy vehicle, of course. So let's get it righted. Add a little damage to the roof. Nothing too bad. It does bounce around a lot. It does buck around an awful lot down here, which is going to fall over a fair few times, I feel. But it's probably not going to do much to the D series. The radiator is the only real concern in the whole falling over side of things. Fall on the roof, not going to matter. Not going to damage the car in any... Well, it's going to damage the car visually, but it's not going to stop the damn thing from running. Our steering is a little bit tweaked from all of that. Oh, that's a big jump, and that's another big landing on the roof for the D series. Can we come over? Oh, no, not quite got the swing on that one. The door can come off. Don't care about the door particularly. Door is unimportant. There we go. We have many flappy doors. Oh, we've made it. Oh. Which would be uncomfortable. Would be uncomfortable in the passenger seat and fairly uncomfortable in the driver's seat. Let's be honest. Actually got more twisted stuff going on in the drive. It's kind of the drive that I was expecting from this. I did really think it was going to have... Well, I say little issues. I think the length is causing it grief across the bumps. Like, because the front's hitting something and not really settling, and then the back's hitting something and that's being chucked around as well. So you kind of put both of those together, and the truck is a little bit out of control when it comes to the bumps. We are through the chicane. Front left wheel is on the poorlier end of the spectrum. It's certainly not pointing the way it should. Oh, that's another big landing onto its side. We go again. I mean, the front is holding up well. Radiator's still all in one piece. The engine was from the oil starvation while it was stuck upside down briefly. That's not a problem. I mean, I guess it might get a problem if the car spends really long amount of times upside down, but we'll be resetting them quick enough. Certainly never seen it ever give a vehicle grief in all of this. I am a little concerned about my steering. We're going to change up at some point from the lovely automatic gearbox, eh? Yeah, because it's just wobbling around in a very funny way. It's definitely... I'm not sure my front left wheel is particularly circle, although the front right is pointing ever so slightly left, but and again, not the worst thing that could befall our D series. We'll throw it into the mud pit, chuck it around. Looks rather entertaining the way it just sort of bounces around, pings around. There's a gap there that we can aim for in this. Won't really do very much to the D series, which is good. And onto this bigger jump. It's not too bad of a jump. Across the rocks, no issues. They're not snatching at any of the wheels yet, not snatching at any... Whoa! Almost got it! Not intentionally. Did not expect it to actually get as close. Like I joked about that because I wasn't really thinking anything outside of potentially the trucks and the buses would ever hit that. But apparently, no, this might be able to do it. Despite the fact we actually squashed the front of the roof down quite a lot from a roll, might actually still be able to get it if you hit the damn thing fast enough. I think we've not got the control to hit it fast enough anymore. But, you know, that's a thing that can apparently happen. Speed up here, pretty good. A little bit of a heavy landing for the front of the car. Oh, come on, steer. My steering is shonky as anything. That the vibrations going on from that front wheel is not... Oh, Christ. The vibrations from going on from that front wheel are not great, and my steering is now not particularly happy anymore. There we go. We are still good enough to get through. The front, actually both. The front left's wobbling. The front right's the twisted one. Or worse twisted one. I fear maybe the entire steering rack's gone slightly. Very difficult to tell, of course, on a vehicle this size. You can't really even whiz the camera around and have a look to tell if the steering rack's got a little wobbly on this. It's certainly not... It's not happy in the steering department, but that's okay. I'd say it's okay. probably it will probably be its downfall eventually. We have had, was it Satsuma used to be notorious for having like the entire steering rack got twisted in the car, and while we haven't had that in the Satsumas that have run here, it is something that could happen with those, and I think this one, the damage to the front might have, because they look fairly evenly, well, aside from the big shake, fairly evenly twisted. Oh, no, there we go. Big understeer moment for the truck. I mean, it had a fairly damaging, visually damaging first lap. Second lap, we've not really had much. The steering's got a little worse, but not much else. Third lap, I mean, the first parts of this don't really phase the truck. It's not likely to be bothered by the speed bumps particularly. The mud pit, I guess, could cause it some grief. It's kind of heavy hitting through the mud pit. It's surprising how damaging some of the hits can be in the mud pit. Oh, my steering's not getting us around there as I would have liked. We're still okay. Still fine somehow. We're landing that one. I'm going to end up taking a jump wonky, I fear, with this. Oh, there goes the radiator. The radiator survived actually pretty well. I'm actually, again, surprised that would be where the radiator goes. It was not the worst of jumps and not the worst of landings either. Don't fire us towards the concrete after we talked about it with the Miramar, please. Thank you. Thank you, D-Series. We've got enough steer at least to avoid that. Yeah, with the radiator gone, the car, the truck, the contraption, monstrous, massive being is going to go out. Oh, that's a big jump. That's actually going to clear us over nicely in all of that. There is sometimes the downside of clearing that nicely is that you do hit those speed bumps with a lot of force. Thankfully, the D-Series here doesn't really mind too much about the speed bumps. I mean, I'm sure it could get in trouble on them if it hits him at the wrong angle. It's generally the way everything goes here. Oh, piss. Come on, slow down, because I need to get you stopped for the chicane. We need to still be able to make it through here, which I think we should be able to. Yeah, we've still got enough steering. If you can get it lined up right in a vehicle like this, you can almost straight line most of that chicane. If you've got the suspension to deal with it, some of the lower slung cars will hit the speed bumps and get nudged around. And that's when they get into trouble around that part. Are we going to have any issues through here? I don't think so. How's our temperature doing? Not doing too badly. Not much happening really with it at the moment. We're down to... we've only still got one door off. The one that I pulled off when trying to roll it over. I was hoping for more door flailing. I'll be honest, I was hoping for a little bit more shenanigans from this. It's kind of just living pretty well at the moment. There's not much occurring for the... Oh, I have lost both tyres on the... Oh, no, we haven't only lost one. No, just the angle I think we were looking at made it look like we lost both tyres on the rear left. Rear right, absolutely fine. I think the rear suspensions hold up very, very well on this. No problems with that at all. It's not a big hit through the mud pit. But it's not going to do much to stop this massive thing. There's the gap we want to aim for. We're through it. There was a crash. I'm not sure actually what got caught on that, but there we go. Across the jump we go. Big hit. That's just a lot of the front end around, but all of the bodywork still attached. With the hell, the rear bumper still attached to another car with a brake light still working. What's going on here? You're supposed to gradually fall apart over the course of a run, not just keep on driving. That's not how this works. We're supposed to have falling apart, there's supposed to be fire, there's supposed to be broken bit. Oh, we lost a door. Well, I mean, that's something at least. Another door has fallen off. Temperature now is just starting to creep up there. It probably won't last another lap with the temperature. With the temperature doing what it's doing, oh, that's also an unfortunate... unfortunate landing. Are you going to be able to bounce back down onto your wheels? No, it's probably a little bit ambitious to hope for that one. Roll the truck over. There we go. That does actually give it a slight breather on the old temperature front. I mean, the engine's still running, yes, but it's... Oh, that's actually bent the steering quite badly. I think worse than it was, possibly. We have still got enough steering to get it back to the right, which is the important thing. It's just not as good. It turns a lot better left than it does right, which would suggest... fairly knackered steering rack. Oh, and down for this next section. We are good. Through there. Fantastic. In fact, the back right's juddering as well. There's just a lot of juddering. I don't know whether that's tyre related or... Yeah, I think it looks like the wheel's taking a little bit of a knock. So the wheels are just not quite perfectly round anymore at the back. which is not ideal. I don't think any of the wheels are particularly round on this truck anymore. It's not great news. Not great news for it. Now the overheating's starting to kick in. Head gasket's gone. Oil's overheating. It is only a matter of time now for this vehicle before its engine expires, pretty much. I've done everything that I can, really, with it. I mean, the rest of it, like, mechanically speaking, it isn't too bad. All things, I did think this, this truck being so massive, very heavy, I did think it was going to do more damage to itself or something, but nope, that's it. The engine's gone. The engine has had it. One knock on the radiator is all it took. Suspension itself did fare very, very well indeed. I mean, you can see how battered that front wheel is. But all the suspension itself was still working. All the suspension was still very, very much working on this. It's going to bobble its way into the mud pit. And are we going to come to a... I mean, we can still... It's not come to a halt yet. If we can use some gravity to sneak us through the mud pit a little bit further, then we shall. Come on, D-Series. You can roll. You're not going to get out of the mud pit, let's face it, but you can at least roll all the way to the end of the mud pit. Yeah, there may not be any circular wheels left on the vehicle anymore, as it does come to a stop. But for such a large vehicle, such a heavy vehicle as well, that survived pretty bloody well. That survived pretty bloody well indeed. I was expecting a much different ending to this, well, maybe hoping for a different ending perhaps. But yeah, you can see the damage to the steering at the front is not what you want. Makes it a little difficult to drive, but in the end, the radiator, the overheating would claim this massive vehicle. On to our leaderboard, and yes, only 2 cars were run today due to the length of their survival. It is a 4th and 5th place for both of the vehicles, both going out on lap number 5. The D-Series quad cab will go into a 4th position. The engine eventually overheating on that car, and while it had, well, not got circle wheels anymore and the steering was a little bit twisted, it actually survived pretty well. I did think that the huge size and kind of weight of that vehicle might cause it some more grief, really, running around this course, but that was not to be. The Miramar Z coupe goes into 5th place, which for a race car is bloody good going indeed. A little bit unlucky. I think eventually the damage to the front suspension got too much for the car to bear. Even if the wheel hadn't got buckled, I think that was going to give up fairly soon, because the whole front end is basically scraping the floor. So either way though, Miramar continues to be an immensely impressive car around here. Hell, for a race car, making it to lap 5. That's quite a feat. That though is going to be it for this video. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.